What's up, Mortgage Coach community? This is the Friday Mastermind. It's going to be a special one. We are going to have Todd Bookspan, who's been my wingman on this Friday Mastermind soon. But today, wingman, CEO, co-founder of Sales Boomerang. We're live in Baltimore. What's up, Alex?
Oh, everything is great, man. I'm on a whole different level right now. Just enjoying life.
So guys, we just had a 2-day spring summit here in Baltimore where we flew all the employees from Mortgage Coach and Sales Boomerang into Baltimore, and it was just magic. You know, the two companies getting together, talking about the historic time it is in the mortgage industry. Now more than ever, it's never been more clear that the mortgage industry and loan officers can and will be the captain of the wealth team. Like we will be the most important advisors to families because we have more data, we have assets, we have liabilities. And with Sales Boomerang, we have all the demographic data, we have all the trigger data, we have all the borrower intelligence that a lender needs to be at the right place at the right time to serve a family. So today's call is dedicated to real estate agents. Like, we want to talk about how mortgage professionals can help realtors during this low inventory marketplace. It's tough for agents. We've lost our refis, or at least our rate and term refis. So we're going to just talk about how can we take this market climate and how can we turn this into a competitive advantage for us as a lending industry? And then how can we actually help realtors sell more homes and create clients for life? So Todd, you did join us. What's up, brother?
Hey, not much. Come on, I wouldn't miss this for the world. I knew I was going to be coming in hot, but anytime I get to hang out with the two of you, the Sales Boomerang Mortgage Coach team, plus my good friend Josh, Mettle, and of course D Bird, it's always a good day. And I think it's, the bottom line is you kind of nailed it. I mean, right now, with the shift in the marketplace, right, with this change that we've had, real estate agents matter more than ever. And oftentimes some of us have not done our job over the past 2 years of keeping in contact with them and figuring out how to add value. And I know that the conversation that we're going to lay out with Josh is really going to give one more arrow in everyone's quiver to be a better partner. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't just give a quick plug for the Modern Real Estate Summit, which is less than 2 weeks away, which I think will be the other great opportunity. So we'll weave that into the conversation as well of how I think loan officers should be using that as a reason to call and a reason to get face-to-face and a reason for follow-up over the next 12 months with their realtor partners.
Yeah, if you have not gotten your tickets for the Modern Mortgage Summit, you are missing out. I mean, it's an opportunity for you to upgrade and be modern. You're going to have some of America's most successful, most modern mortgage professionals doing virtual presentations, and they're like, most of them are less than 5 minutes. The longest ones are all less than 18 minutes. And so it's just going to be a half a day of upgrading as a mortgage professional. And this can be half a day of having some of the most modern real estate professionals in America speaking to modern real estate professionals. So this will be an event that you want to give tickets to your agents. You want to watch with your agents. You want to review so that you can deliver more value. Deborah Bird, anything you want to say before we bring on our special guest today?
No, just a reminder for people to watch in the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel. Todd and Adam and I all did an hour segment of like best practices of how to fill a room and how to do an event. So y'all make sure, in fact, Robert, if we can even drop that link in the chat, it's a good place for people to go back to prep, because we're coming down to the wire. And don't forget, June is halftime. So it's a great halftime show or great series that you could show for your agents when we're mid-year. It's like, how are you tracking on your goals? Let's start it off with a bang and, lead with the summit. So, all right, back to you, Dave.
Yeah. And I just want to make sure it's clear what Deborah said. Guys, this was a full hour, where Adam, who's helped promote these events, he's the man behind the scenes, has created them, where him and Deborah created a playbook on how to do realtor events. And while it was designed around how to have watch parties and events with realtors for the Modern Mortgage and Modern Real Estate Summit, you would learn things, home buyer workshops, realtor masterminds. This will help you do it better. So link down below. Alex, anything you want to say before we bring Josh on stage?
No, I think you guys covered it.
All right.
I love it.
So I asked Josh to join us because he has recently been giving presentations to groups of realtors. While he's talking, I'll pull up a few photos. So you can just kind of bring to life what he's doing. I'm going to share that. Josh is also going to share his slides. We put those in a Google Doc. So at some time in the conversation, I will share those. Also, I spoke to 60 realtors on behalf of one of our lenders. One of our lenders asked me to come and speak at an event where it was like a branch had rented out a winery, super bitchin' winery. And I came in, myself and a mortgage professional spoke for 2 hours, and it was just really well done. I'll show some photos of that. And I'm really going to pick Josh's mind for this first half of the call. And then, you know, I'll share what I did. I'll share those slides with everybody. Remember, guys, this is Mastermind style. Put your questions in chat. I'll be watching in Facebook. So we've got a nice little audience in Facebook Live. If you guys got questions, put them down below. Edwin, what's up? Can't wait to see you do a realtor event with Mortgage Coach and Sales Boomerang. So Josh, why don't you tell us what you're up to and tell us what you're doing and why you're doing it?
Morning, team. Happy Saturday Eve to everybody. I want to start out with just a quick comment on the Modern Mortgage Summit. You know, my topic this year was how to tips and tricks and things that I've learned, strategies, I think I called it, on how to not only survive, but thrive in a really challenging year of 2022. And one of those things, by the way, was spend more time with your family and really love on them, because I'll speak for myself. I haven't given them the amount of time and energy and love that I should have over the last couple of years, because I was so frantically busy. And so I'm executing on that right now. We're headed down to Lake Powell. I'm going to be offline for the next 7 days. No cell phone, no email. But I really encourage everybody to check out the Modern Mortgage Summit, because I think now more than ever, we need not only information, but we need inspiration. And what you're going to hear from people at the summit is how they're getting through this market, how they're thriving. But it's one thing to just see it. It's another to actually get inspired by the people that we work with and our colleagues. And it's the best of the best that are going to be there. So get on that event, share it with your teams, make it a team event. I really think there's going to be a tremendous amount of value in that presentation.
So guys, we'll put a link in chat. If you're watching the recording of this, there's show notes down below on our YouTube channel. There'll be a link to sign up for the Modern Mortgage Summit. But if you could spell, it's Modern Mortgage Summit. Mortgage with a T, baby. And,
Hey, that's a difficult one, mortgage to spell.
Yeah, well, you know, hopefully everybody in the industry knows how to spell it.
That's why I call it mortgage. That's how I do it. I don't want to ever forget.
So Josh, you know, talk to us about why you've decided to, you know, do one-to-many presentations, and really, it's not this that you're doing it, you're really making it a big focus. So tell us why you're doing it, and then tell us what you're doing, and then we'll pepper you with questions.
Yeah.
I want to start with a story, if you don't mind. I was talking to a buddy of mine. This is an Apex loan officer. He's been a stud. One of my closest friends, been in the industry for a really long time. And he's one of about 3 people I've spoken to recently where when I get below the surface BS, what starts to come out is a tremendous amount of apprehension of where we are in the market. There is fear. There is almost people that I look at as icons are paralyzed. And I really think we need to be aware of where our energy is, and we need to get over that. And we need to develop a strategy where we can deliver a tremendous amount of value. And what I've been telling my team, I'll start with my team and then let's go into the realtor piece. What I've been telling my team is, look, there are seasons in the mortgage industry, just like there's seasons in, spring, summer, fall, winter, just like there's seasons if you're if you are, planting your farm, there are seasons. And this season right now is a season to plant. There will be a season to harvest. It's going to be bountiful. It's going to be the most abundant time ever, because our skills are going to be better. Our technology is going to be better. We're going to be better. But right now, don't worry about harvesting. It's not a harvest season. It's a planting season. So what is a planting season? A planting season is where we shift our mindset from transactional to relational. And we have an opportunity right now to create relationships. People have the most valuable asset they have ever had in their home. And they have more equity than they've ever had in their home. If you look at total US real estate value as compared to indebtedness, the amount of mortgage equity is somewhere in the neighborhood of 26, 29 trillion. Never have Americans had that much equity, and they don't know what to do with it. They don't even, they need coaching on. I had somebody call me last week and they said, hey, I'm thinking about selling my houses, and then I'm just going to sit in cash. And I'm like, cool. Have you looked at the inflation rate recently? Then what are you going to do? And so people need help thinking through this stuff. They may not need to be sold a mortgage right now. Planting. We just called to check in. We just called to do equity analysis. We just called because we had a sales boomerang alert that told us XYZ may be happening in your life. And I just called to check in with you. We already created, Jeremy Corsier did a great job on the scripts. We created a document to memorialize those scripts. But this season around planting and shifting our mindset from, hey, I make phone calls to make immediate transactions and closings. We got to shift that right now. And this is actually when we make our money in this industry. It's just not going into our checking account right now. It's going into our savings account. Yeah. And when the harvest season comes, we get to move that. Warren Buffett calls it brand equity. He likes to buy companies that have a high level of brand equity. That's a Hershey's chocolate. That's a Disney. They have brand equity. What were you going to say? Go ahead.
Oh, See's Candy, big Warren Buffett investment.
That's right. And right now we have an opportunity to build brand equity. We can expand our brands and our relationships. And when the tide or the season turns, the harvest is either going to be bountiful or it's not. But now is when we determine how that harvest is going to turn out. So that's the first thing I think we should start with is we need to shift our mindset from, oh my gosh, the world is ending. It's slow. It's not slow. You have 300 past clients. Get on the phone, brother. Start doing analysis on people's equities and doing equity analysis. There's so much that we can be doing right now.
Just a quick thought. I love what you just said, Josh, so much. I mean, it resonates with me at such a high level. It makes me think about how funny or how strange would it be if you're driving past a farm and a farmer is harvesting and there's nothing there to harvest, and they're just got all the machinery, they're harvesting, they're digging there, and you're like, what are you doing? Like, oh, I'm harvesting. What dirt? Right. And it's like what you're saying is so on point. Right now is the time to plant. You're not in your checking account, but in your savings account, in that emotional account, in that relationship account. And that is so perfectly said. And when it is time to harvest, there'll be more to harvest than you can imagine. If you plant now.
So I do want to pile on a thought here too, is that if you are farming and if you are doing those things, first of all, every loan that you do in this market that starts with a 4 and a high number or a 5 and a number, that's going to be 3-4 loans a year, 2 years from now. But here's the other thing, guys. If you're doing what Josh is saying and you're leveraging the lifestyle or the life alerts from like a borrow intelligence platform like Sales Boomerang, you're going to get loans now. Like there are loans now. Yes. To Josh's point, people don't know what to do with equity, and there's people that own their home free and clear, and they shouldn't own their home free and clear. There's people, that interview I did with you a couple months ago, Josh, where one of your loan officers got a credit inquiry alert because a doctor client went to big bank, thought they needed a debt consol loan or they thought they needed a loan A. You got an inquiry alert. Your loan officer called them. Anybody who's getting alerts right now, and you're not calling those people, with humility, with humbleness, with curiosity. And then if you don't know how to analyze that and show that family, guys, that was a loan now because, he was farming. He was farming and he got a loan now. So that's the other thing I would say is, if you work hard to plant seeds right now, you're going to get loans now too,
Yeah.
in addition to the loans that are just falling out of the sky.
Well, let me add another story. So we were just here. We're here in Baltimore now. We went out. One of our clients is here in Baltimore. His name is Brandon. He came up to me. He's like, Alex, we just got a cash out notification, $900,000 deal, $900,000 cash out opportunity. So there are deals right now. You will have opportunities right now, and customers want to hear from you right now. So either way, it's a win. You either help them do a loan right now, or you planted a seed right now. But no matter what, when you get a notification that's relevant to the consumer, right? They would love a conversation with somebody in the mortgage industry right now, even if it's not to do a loan. It's just to hear from an expert and someone that cares about them, that is not going to try to force something on them that's not best for them. It's the best time to talk to a customer is right now.
Well, I totally agree. And I think the real key is Josh has kind of said it, is you got to make the time to do it. Right. I mean, I'm the productivity guy, and I would tell you that the number one thing I'm still hearing when I talk to loan officers is that they're super busy. Right. I'm just really too busy to do that, Todd. But you hear Josh say, hey, we need to have these conversations. You heard Alex just say it. Not every conversation right now is going to turn into a loan. But the bottom line is this, is if you're not actually scheduling time, I would suggest start with a minimum of 30 minutes, which is pretty low. And it really should be an hour to 2 hours a day of reaching out to your database and reaching out to real estate agents and really having these conversations to basically set up that future harvest, because that's what these markets are all about.
Dude, let's just go a tiny bit. And Deborah, I don't want to cut you off, but I think what Todd just said is the crux of the point. We're too busy not doing enough loans and running around being frantic about not doing enough loans. Like, knock that crap off.
Yeah.
I built my entire business and our entire team's business around winning by noon. Literally, Todd and I were in a coaching group together, and we were creating the perfect day. And the question was thrown out: if you had a family or medical emergency and you had to stop your day by noon, what would you do? And we scripted that out. And I realized, man, if I get up and I nail my morning routine, I was just listening to Tony Robinson this morning. He calls it priming. But he primes whatever your priming routine is to enter into a peak state. And I go into the office and I have a gratitude meeting, and then I go into 3 hours of prospecting from 8:30 to 11:30. And then I have 30 minutes to meet with my team, and I left. Do you realize I could run a mortgage business that way? If I had the right team around me, I could actually do it. But the problem is, I bet if we polled loan officers in America right now, how many of them are prospecting from 8:30 to 11:30 with their phones on do not disturb, in the outbox, not in the inbox of their email, with Teams or Slack closed down, so they just had 100% time integrity around prospecting. I bet you the only loan officers who are doing that are the only loan officers who aren't worried about the market being slow right now. Guaranteed. We have to get back to that.
So Robert, if you could put a link to an interview I did with Josh several years ago, it was called Gratitude for Greatness, maybe something like that, or it had the word gratitude in it, with Josh Mettle, and it was like a 12-minute, less than 15-minute interview. And it was all about what Josh just talked about, how he rallies his team. They have a 15-minute gratitude meeting, which I've been part of before, and then they prospect. Do not disturb, outbound calls, calling alerts, calling TBDs. And we could end the call right now. Well, we're going to do a realtor presentation, and what we put in the headline: if you just make sure you win by noon, and you have a gratitude practice, and you prospect like no one's tomorrow. And guys, not 2 days out of 5 days. Like, the key is 5 days a week, 2 to 3 hours a day of prospecting. You will be a very successful mortgage professional in this market, in any market. So Josh, let's pivot and get right into, why, given everything you just said, why are you saying, hey, one of the most important things I'm doing is getting in front of groups of realtors? Why are you doing that? And then let's get into, what are you doing?
Yeah. So it occurred to me that, well, I'll speak for myself. One of the reasons I didn't call my past clients is because I was afraid. I hadn't called them for 3 years. If I did, I just checked in on them like kind of an annual mortgage review. So maybe I had 1 or 2 conversations. I didn't know what to say. I'm not a high I. I'm not somebody who just has an ability to spitball a 30-minute conversation. It's not my skill set. I'm a high D. I want to like get in, get it done, and get out. And I had this fear, like this phobia of calling somebody without something to say.
Yes.
We no longer have that. The Sales Boomerang has enabled us to have something to talk about. We have no excuse why not to call those people. And the slide that I love of yours and Alex's the best is the slide of all the people, I think it's in like Chinatown or something, and they all have question marks over their head. And when I look at that fear, I go, how does that make me feel? And I go, that makes me feel afraid. That makes me feel afraid. And then I go to the next slide, which is all the, that slide, all those people make me afraid. And then I go to the next slide and I see all that data and I get excited. I'm not afraid anymore. I'm excited. So I believe that is the pivot point that we need to take as originators. Now, let me answer the question about realtors. It occurred to me that we have a superpower with this, because as a mortgage loan officer, we have the ability to access credit and to monitor credit. Realtors are not mortgage loan officers. They don't have an ability to monitor or to look at credit. So I started to think to myself, who's the only people out there that are worse on calling their past clients than loan officers? And I was like, realtors. They got nothing to say. I mean, unless they're calling up doing, a CMA, which they should be doing. By the way, I was in an EXP office last week. The broker of the office said that he has one of his top producing teams. They're doing 6 CMAs a day via Zoom. So presenting the CMA to a customer 6 a day, past client. And the reason they chose 6 a day is because they're getting 1 listing for every 6 CMA Zoom meetings they're doing. So he's getting a listing a day. And I was showing this. I was showing the Sales Boomerang presentation in the slide deck that you have there, Dave, that you're welcome to share. I was showing that to the realtors, walking them through the value of their database, asking them why they don't call their past clients. And they all said the same thing. They're like, man, we're afraid. We don't know what to say. And what's worse, we haven't called anybody for 3 years. And I'm like, cool, now you don't have to I can solve both those problems. I'm going to share the alert with you, which is going to give you a reason to call. And I'm going to supply you with a script, which is going to give you what to say. If I gave you those 2 things, would you call? They're like, hell yes. Hell yes. So it's gold for lenders, but it's like, it's like platinum, whatever's more valuable than gold for realtors. It's diamonds to realtors, because realtors cannot get this access if it's not via a lender.
So guys, I want to drive this. I'm going to share a couple slides from Josh's presentation. Also, I put together a presentation that I delivered to a group of realtors, and what he just said is super clear. Like most lenders don't have borrower intelligence. No realtors, like zero, except for Zillow. Of course, Zillow has a data science team, and here's the deal, guys. This is what realtors' database looks like. This is what most loan officers' database looks like. Guys, this is what Rocket and Zillow's database looks like. So your competition, the biggest threat that real estate agents have in America is this. And when I recently presented to 60 realtors and I was showing this to them, they were like, their heads were nodding. And about at this point in the conversation, they were not smiling. They were just like, shit, and I could see it. And then I was saying, you know what? Because I was presenting on behalf of a mortgage company that is using technology to win. And I said, but the lender you're with, they have access to this technology. And you know what? They've got it even better. With Sales Boomerang and Mortgage Coach, it's not only showing the signals of who to call and when to call, it's creating a total cost analysis. So it's creating a presentation. So guys, everyone listening to this who's part of this Mortgage Coach Sales Boomerang community, you have something more valuable than Zillow, something more valuable than Rocket, something more valuable than any online lender, and something more valuable than all your local competitors, let's say. So it is time to get out, talk to realtors about this, create value for realtors around this. So, and remember, I'm going to share Josh's slide deck at some point in this conversation when I'm not talking or thinking. And I'm also going to share the one that I put together. So Josh, anything else you want to add to that before we open it up for a little Q&A with the whole crew here?
Yeah, just one of the opening slides that I put up was this quote, this statement that was, you know, we either act or we are acted upon. And I just paused and said, what does that mean to you? And you know, they said, well, we got to take action. And I said, do you know how many billboards I passed on my way to this office today that quoted an interest rate, lowest rates in town, real estate, or home builder? You know how many billboards I went past on the freeway? They put out numbers. I was like 17. So if your past clients are driving that same road, our competitors, your and my competitor, have 17 impressions on your past client every single day. And then I said, how many of you in here have called your past client 17 times? How many's called 17 past clients this year? You know, like 2 people raise their hands. And I'm like, team, we're getting out hustled. Like straight up. We're worried about not having enough leads. We're getting hustled. We are being acted upon. And we have agency over that. We can turn that whole thing around. We just need a system. We just need time blocking. We just need to team up and go to work with this information. And that really landed. That like really kicked off the conversation in a way that they were wide-eyed and ready to dig in.
So one thing I want to call out, and then let's just go around to all the, you know, moderators on the call. But you notice Josh has framed this conversation. So we did tell one part of the story. You showed about borrower intelligence. Hey, this is what your database looks like. This is what Zillow and Rocket's database looks like, and this is what your could. So he did tell one story, but he's framing it. And he started off with a story around, you know, it's time to farm.
Yes.
It's time to, you know, prospect. And it's everybody's shaking their head. So if you get in front of a group of real estate agents, I think, you know, we've framed this for quite some time, but you could do this in a 15-minute meeting. You could do a 3 to 4 minute frame, and then you could share the strategies. So we want to teach you how to get on stage. We're going to give you slides to get on stage, but I just want to make sure everybody made note of what's happening in today's conversation. Like we did a lot of framing, very valuable. Todd, anything you want to ask or say at this point?
Well, you know, I would love to ask you, Josh. I mean, you kind of talked about it before. You just said that, you know, loan officers are busy not doing loans. And so how do you know, I know you guys have had this 2 hours a day of prospecting. How do you lay it out to loan officers who aren't blocking any time for this critical activity every day? How would you tell them to do it and schedule it and get past the fact that they're not?
Yeah, I mean, there's a quote that little hinges swing big doors. And if you haven't spent the time with yourself to ask yourself, what are my little hinges? You're going to spend a lot of time chasing your tail. The question is, what are the things that I do that create the greatest amount of gain, the greatest amount of abundance and opportunity, or the greatest amount of forward momentum? And there's something hopefully from you from a spiritual standpoint that you identify. There's something that hopefully you identify from a physical standpoint, from a relational standpoint with your family. You know, one of mine is getting on a trail with my dog or getting on a mountain bike. That is a little hinge that swings big doors. And I'm a much better person for the, you know, like the next 2 days. And one of those, and the thing in my business that I realized was a little hinge that swing big doors was 2 to 3 hours of outbound prospecting where I was on do not disturb, and everybody in my environment gave me agreement. No, you don't go into Josh's office from 8:30 to 10:30 or 8:30 to 11:30. There's a sign on the door. The phone calls are rerouted. And that activity created more abundance for my team, for myself, for my realtor partners than any other activity. So it's like, would you even consider going home and taking the hinges off your door? And then every time you had to come into the house, you had to pick up the damn door and move it to the side and then walk through the door and then re-pick it back up and put the door back on the frame? No, that would be stupid. That would be ludicrous. Well, then why would we avoid those things in our lives? And prospecting is a hinge that swings big doors. It makes everything else work. If you're not doing it, it's just, it's insane.
So, and guys, borrower intelligence is one of those hinges that swings big doors. D Bird, any takeaways, any questions so far?
Yeah, so two things. One, for those who have call reluctance and you've neglected your database and you're wondering, how do you overcome that first step where you feel bad, like there's guilt? You tell people possibly that you're not the loan officer that just works, the loan. You stay in touch even after the loan closes. And maybe you haven't done that. A very easy and simple strategy that you could execute is carve out, Todd's going to say 15 minutes, not any longer than that. But if you just go on social and you look at your database of who you're going to be calling maybe in the next week or two, who could you and I call it flirting online. It's not flirting like in a relationship like that, but you're liking certain posts, you're commenting, you're doing some research of the human in a social setting that happens to be online now. Like, guys, I don't think it could be any easier. Where when you create a little bit of that interaction, it makes it much easier to then pick up the phone in the next coming weeks to make the call and say, hey, I just saw that you were on the trail with your dog hiking. Which trail was that? I'd love to know, or I'm going to start hiking and I'm curious on the shoes or whatever. And you just start conversation. I call it H2H marketing. It's human to human at the end of the day. So be a human. And that's an easy way to overcome that. My question for you, Josh, is if you had to break down how you approach your prospecting, how do you prioritize and how do you make sure you're hitting certain people? Like, do you have a strategy per day, themed days of who you contact? Is there anything you could provide to those listening? Like maybe you start with your sales boomerang alerts and then you go to maybe birthdays or annual asset reviews, or how do you approach how you best utilize that time prospecting?
Yeah, really good.
It's a really good question. One of the things that I figured out early on that was stopping me from prospecting was I got to the office and then I started to think about who I should call. And then I would start organizing my database and prioritizing. And then I was super prioritized with no loans. So I started using a tasking system inside my CRM. And I would put all my tasks for that day and I would schedule them between 8:30 in the morning and 11:30. And it would be a mix of, and I'm not saying this is perfect, I'm just saying it worked for me and I was brainless. Just show up and execute. And it would be a mix of referral partners that I wanted to task myself to follow up with that day. And I'd roll that for either 2 weeks or 30 days or 90 days, depending on my relationship with that realtor. I'd have past client annual reviews in there. I'd have leads in there. I'd have other referral property opportunities in there. And I created a system where it took zero thought. I just decided, okay, I talked to Deborah today. It was a great conversation. She's in good financial shape. There's really nothing she needs to do, but she's an A client of mine. I want to follow up with her in 120 days. So I'd set my next task between 8:30 and 11:30, 120 days from now. And I would never think about it. I would just roll in and boom, 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 and nail all those tasks. And my team knew that usually that was between 2 and 3 hours. Sometimes it was 4 hours. Sometimes it was 4.5 hours. I mean, I've had days when I've rolled in and I had 100 tasks and I was like, okay, I'm off limits until 1. And we would just roll call after call, text after text, email after email, video message after video message. But think about that. If you did 100 outbound green activities, something that will either result in transaction or a relationship building, if you did 100 of those a day, every day, imagine how many loans you'd have. And it just created this amazing amount of abundance that would come back to me throughout the day. But the discipline was schedule those tasks beforehand. When you show up, you should not be thinking about who you should call. If that's the way your system is, it's counterproductive. You just need to show up and execute and just nail all those calls or all those tasks. Did I answer that question okay, or did I hit it?
You killed it, bro. And here's the deal, guys. We're 35 minutes in. I want to make sure we deliver on a little bit of scripting to get the meetings with the agents. I want to make sure everybody comes away from this call with kind of the outline of the presentations. Also want to really call upon the community. I think this is something that every mortgage coach should do, you know, because it's farming season. That means we need to get, and I believe in leverage. I love that. Small hinges, swing big doors. Getting groups of realtors in a room and showing them how to get more listings and showing them how to get more transactions out of their database. That is what time it is. So Josh, be ready to, you know, really drill down on this, you know, realtor presentation. But Alex, any comments or questions so far?
I just think I love the analogy of the farm. And, you know, something that comes to mind is if we think about a farm in the mortgage industry, the farm is your customers. And when there are people in the industry right now that may, and nobody wants this to happen, but they may lose their farm. That means their farmland is available to farm, to work, to plant seeds, to connect with. There's going to be many farms left unattended moving forward. And so this is your chance too, to understand that if you put in the work, if you win by noon, if you wake up and you have your prospects, you know, laid out. Deborah said this earlier, you know, do you call your sales boomerang alerts first? Many of the top producers that we work with and talk to, that is the number one move in the morning. What are all the alerts? That's the priority. I'm going to call them first. Before I can need to think who I might call, I know I'm contacting first. There's going to be a lot of people that don't have this discipline, that don't understand this concept that Josh is talking about, that we're all talking about here. And so there's going to be a lot of farms left untouched and a lot of people who are supposed to be growing within those farms that are just going to be without a farmer. And so this is a chance to win that part of the farm too. And so Josh, I was wondering for you, do you ever think about that in this environment where you're like, look, some of these farms are just not going to be attended to. How do I get a piece of that land?
And everybody's going to be growing their farm.
Yeah.
Like this is an opportunity to grow your farm.
Grow your farm. Yeah.
And guys, that's what we're telling you as loan officers to do. Go out there, meet with realtors and convince them to say, you know what? Let me take over the farming of your farm. So Josh, how would you respond to that?
So first of all, that was the part of Deborah's question that I couldn't remember. So Deborah, my sales boomerang alerts go directly into my CRM and they create tasks for me. So I don't even have to think, should I call my sales boomerang leads? They're already in my CRM. And I just bang through my tasks and those alerts are part of my tasks. So I wanted to make sure I answered that for you. That's the whole purpose of partnering with realtors, is that I know those farms are being unattended. And, you know, our team has a database of about 15,000 past clients, but every real estate office I walk into has another 3, 4, 5,000 past clients that I want to adopt. And I want to do it in conjunction, right? Bill Hart already has the slogan, better together. Well, I can bring them something that they literally don't have access to, and I get to rent their farm for really cheap. And because I get to leverage that database and turn on those alerts, and we split the cost of it. So I get to borrow their farmland, and I only have to pay half of what I have to pay to farm my own farmland. Like, that's a total no-brainer. And it is something that realtors know that in a low inventory environment, they have to be innovative. They have to try new things. Like what has been working for a lot of realtors is not working. And they're finally at that place. I feel they're finally at that place where they're like, you know, God help me, I need a new strategy. And when you position Sales Boomerang as something that will help realtors thrive in a low inventory environment, their radar pops up, their ears pop up. They want to hear what you have to say. It is the easiest script of all time.
So I want to share a couple slides from a presentation I gave to a bunch of realtors. And there were just some slides where, you know, when you're presenting and people are like, whoa, and they're pulling out their phones and they're taking pictures. And when I talked about this Captain of the Well team, now when I was talking to realtors, I didn't just like, oh, mortgage, we're the Captain Wealth team. I was like, mortgage and realtor together, we're the captains of the wealth team. But guys, the cameras came out, like they're looking for solutions. And when you're on stage and you're talking to realtors, and by the way, I had half of the well, not half, like over 10, because it was a room of 60 and there was about a dozen realtors that came up afterwards because I was talking about how there's a financial literacy crisis in America. And they're like, absolutely. And we, real estate and mortgage, we can stop this. We can work our databases, we can educate consumers, and we can help educate America around financial literacy and building wealth with real estate. They loved it. So I just want to throw out there for anybody that's getting on stages in front of realtors, you're going to get our slide. Feel free to use it. Feel free to come up with your own version of it. But this is one of those key concepts that when you're framing it, I recommend you frame it around this concept. And I can tell you right now, every realtor in the room, when I told them what Amazon can't do, that I've said countless times on this channel, and then I talked about what Amazon and Zillow can't do, guys, maybe every single realtor in the room took a picture of this slide, and I had them. Like, this was my frame. They were just going, yes, yes, yes. Captain of the wealth team. Yes, yes, yes. And then when I said, well, you know what? You need to have a what Amazon, Zillow can't do and can do tech stack. And these were the three technologies that I focused on. I started with borrower intelligence, and I went through these 3 slides, so really simple. Then I talked about digital presentations. I'm like, guys, we can help you get more listings. And I showed a move up analysis. I said, hey, every loan officer you're working with that's not part of this crew, this is what they're doing. So I kind of, I was there to help my lender, who is a mortgage coach, sales boomerang client, crush it. So I'm like, this is, and I want realtors telling their loan officers, hey, if you're not giving a mortgage coach digital presentation, I'm going to have to find a loan officer that does. I mean, just putting it out there, guys. Yep. That is my goal, is to make sure that every realtor in America knows about a mortgage coach digital presentation.
Let me add to that. And if I'm talking to an agent, I'm saying, look, when you work with me, deals get done about 3 times faster because of a digital presentation. Because my customers don't sit on the fence and figure out if they can or should or wouldn't or can, what's going to happen to them over time. They don't have those questions. Those are all answered for them. And so my customers move faster. That's another reason why you want to refer all your business to me and let me borrow your farm or rent your farm.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And then guys, it's super important. I would highly recommend you do a move up analysis, because you want to show a TCA that makes a buyer more likely to make a winning offer. So that's like the all-in-one or interest rate options or appraisal gap TCA. And then you want to show one that gets a listing. So you're showing them, hey, every person that I'm talking to that I'm getting an alert from, I'm trying to get a move up. So you get a listing and you get a buyer. And then tell me if you like this kind of segue. So I just did 2 TCAs, took about 5 minutes. But it in the mind of those realtors, they were like, mortgage coach. I need a mortgage coach loan officer. And then I'm a big fan of HomeBot. And I positioned HomeBot around home equity optimization platform. That's what I called it in my presentation. And then I showed a couple examples of that. And so, I mean, at the end of the day, you got a great frame around big concepts like what Amazon and Zillow can't do. You've got a frame around, I've got more data than everyone else, so I can help you WAZCD your business. I've got digital presentations, and I have an equity optimization platform. And so give me your database. Let me help farm your database. You don't, and I told all the realtors, we're not asking you to stop marketing your database. We're not saying give away your database. We're just saying, you know what? I want to come over and weed your garden.
Yeah.
I want to come over and water your plants.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to help you harvest things on the perfect day, the right time. In the wine business, like the difference between harvesting your wine, 1 week versus another week is the difference between having a magical harvest and missing it. So like when you harvest matters, Boomerang helps you harvest all that fruit. So you're just making a case to help me farm it. So Josh, could you speak to that? Is that similar to the approach that you took? And then if you could fill in, because I want to learn from you, like I've presented to one group of realtors one time so far. Tell us what you're doing. Just give us a high level overview on it.
So I want to overlay the Donald Miller filter over what you just said. And Donald wrote a book called Building a Story Brand. He has, I believe it's StoryBrand University. And actually, I'm sorry, it's built Business Made Simple University. And he has a bunch of online courses for marketing. And Donald decrypted, if you will, the code to get somebody's attention. And you actually just went through that code. And I know you studied Donald and he's a buddy of yours. So let me give you the formula. The Donald Miller formula to obtain somebody's attention is start with the problem. I named my presentation, How to Thrive in a Low Inventory Environment. So that's the problem, low inventory environment. Show empathy. Hey, I feel you. I'm getting out hustled too. I drove past 14 different advertisements for real estate and mortgage on my way to your office. Empathy. Authority. Here, I've figured out a solution. We've implemented this in our business, and it's taken our relational engagement with our past clients to a brand new level. And I want to share it with you. Here's the authority. And then it ends with call to action. I want to adopt your database. I want to go shoulder to shoulder with you in the same rugby scrum to serve our past clients. I just want to do it with more insight and analytics than you're currently doing it, right? So just start at the beginning. Problem, empathy, authority, call to action. That's exactly what you just described. And if you take that formula and you put in Sales Boomerang, Mortgage Coach, and HomeBot, this will be the easiest real estate presentation you've ever done. I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say I've done hundreds of realtor presentations. The one I did this week was the easiest one I've ever given in my entire life. It was like, Babe Ruth swinging at a softball from a 7-year-old. It was just like nothing but leather left. So yeah, get after it. We're going to give you templates for both of our presentations. I promise you, you will not fail. You get out with these presentations and frame it in that light.
All right, guys, I'm going to put the links to the presentations in a minute. I want everybody to write this down. Frame. So make sure you frame it around, hey, there's pain in the market. All the things Josh said, I'm not going to repeat it.
Yeah.
Make sure there's a message. There are stories and strategies. So the Boomerang database, the Mortgage Coach, the HomeBot. Remember, it's not about the technology. It's about the results that the technology provides. That's the message. And then guys, don't forget the tie down. Like, don't run out of time at the end to connect and to say, I want to harvest your database. Tell them what you want. Tell them how you want it.
Yes.
Make sure, like I see too many loan officers, he gives this great opening, this great presentation. People are loving it. And then it's like, hey, call me or email me if you want to do some business.
Oh my gosh.
Guys, no, like, hey, I'm going to stand up at the back of the room. And maybe I want you guys to try this. Like, and right now, this month, let's say there's 30 realtors in the room. I can only onboard and harvest 2 realtors database. So, or 3. So there's like little sense of urgency.
Yes.
And I'm gonna go back to the room. Now, I'm gonna take them as they come. So the first 2 will be my first people I help. I can, I could get a list. And by the way, I'm just making this up. I'm not saying that you need to do it exactly like this. You may want to harvest everybody's database, but I want you to be intentional around the close and the tie down. Alex, any questions or comments?
I do want to comment on what you just said, Dave. I would every time create the sense of urgency. If there's 10 people in the room, only 5 or 4. Even if you can do all of that, give them, this way you're getting the people who are really interested acting now, and the ones that need to think about it. But you're getting those people because if everyone says, I'll do it, and then none of them take action, then you've gone nowhere. But if you create that little velvet rope, that urgency that this train is moving, who's getting on first, I think that's very, very powerful.
And time out real quick. So in the opening, I didn't, tell who Josh was. Like, you're a new loan officer on the call. Josh has been one of America's top loan officers, and leaders. Alex, guys, Sales Boomerang is the fastest growing tech company in mortgage. And it's one of the fastest growing SaaS technology companies in the history in all verticals.
Yep.
And a lot of that has to do with, prior to Sales Boomerang, Alex has owned agencies. He has built how many websites?
How many websites? My goodness, I can't even tell you.
Hundreds. So
Hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands.
like if you go to the Sales Boomerang website, the science of selling and marketing is magical. Like this guy is one of the best marketers on planet Earth. So what you just heard, it's not just coming from a tech founder. It's coming from a guy who's owned agency. He's been part of building thousands of websites, and not websites that are just packaging for products.
Correct.
Websites that drive sales.
Yes.
Websites that drive ROI. So he's like a Donald Miller. I mean, he could write a Donald Miller book, and I guarantee Donald Miller would get tons of value being in the room with Alex for a day. So
Thank you.
it is what it is, bro.
It's true. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, guys. So we got 9 minutes left. Todd, book span, any questions or takeaways you want to make sure people get before we wrap this up? And I'm going to take this opportunity, guys, to give you all the links because you guys are saying, Dave, where's the links? So stay tuned. They're coming soon.
Perfect. If you're the only person on the call that's not using HomeBot, Robert threw the HomeBot discount codes into both the chat in Zoom as well as into the Facebook group. So it'll waive the $200 activation fee for you. Or if you already use it, there's a $50 fee for real estate agents, and there's a code in there that'll waive it for them. I just still go back to the whole idea of you are all in the best business in the world, and you all work with real estate agents who are amazing people. And we nailed it earlier when Josh said that the only people that are following up less on their database than us are our real estate agents. So anytime that you can come along and show them what you're doing to help them improve their game and to be part of it is always going to be an opportunity for you to build and gain relationship. But it has to start with you. And I think that my biggest takeaway really from Josh today is the fact that the reason he's successful when he gets in the office is because he's already done his prioritization of what he has to do that day ahead of time. And so just remember that you've got a CRM. Maybe it's not as cool as Josh's, but you have a CRM, and your CRM can absolutely tell you what you need to do, who you need to call each and every single day. And it's just going to take time. Every time you get off the phone with somebody, a client or real estate agent, schedule the next call. And there should be some type of a field in your CRM that you can search by that either might be a next call date. That would be the ultimate best practice and best field to have. But if you don't have that field, just find some other field that you don't use, whatever that field is, and put in that next call date so that you can go in and just every day sort by who I have to call. And that's really the easy button. I mean, Josh talked about calling up to 100 people a day. We had Jeremy Forcier on earlier this year, and he challenged us all to do 100 call a day. And he admitted he only had done 77 calls. So of course I took it upon myself that Friday to attempted to do 100 calls. And I had things like Dave calling me and other things that I allowed to interrupt, right? Josh says he puts himself on do not disturb and doesn't allow those interruptions. I allowed interruptions, but I still got 80 calls done, and I talked to almost 70 different people. And the bottom line is you've got to make that commitment, and then you have to decide who am I going to ignore, right? Dave called me. I had a choice. My phone is ringing. I could have either said, hey, let him go to voicemail and kept on task, which is transparently what I should have done, but it was my buddy Dave. And Dave's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm making my 100 calls. He's like, oh, never mind. I'll get off the phone. But we still finished up our quick conversation and we're going. But the bottom line is this, is that you have an opportunity to share with others, but it starts with you, right? You cannot give away what you don't have yourself. I know you've got it in you to be organized, to spend the time every day to do these proactive activities and then go out and help others do it.
D Bird, what you got?
I was going to ask you, Josh, when your agent group that did 6 CMAs a day, do you know how they were structuring who to target on that?
They had I don't know if they how they targeted. I believe they were just calling into their past client database. And the way it was described to me was they had a dialer, somebody on the team who was calling into the database saying, holy crap, Deborah, do you know how much equity you have in your home? Josh asked me to reach out to you. And they said, no, I don't even know what equity is. Or, right? Some clients don't even know. And then they were saying, well, Josh wants to meet with you. And they're scheduling 30-minute Zoom calls, boom. And he was doing 6 a day. So he would just come in, and for 3 hours, he knew he had 6 back-to-back 30-minute Zoom calls. And he's just going through the CMA with them, educating them on the wealth that they have in their home. And as a total byproduct, I think I'm ready to move up. I think I'm ready to move down. I think I want to sell my home. And they were getting an incredible conversion rate. So it wasn't rocket science. It was just getting the people scheduled to go over. The secret sauce was he wasn't just emailing out the CMA. He was scheduling a Zoom meeting to go through the CMA and actually connect with that person.
And then my next question was for Alex. Alex, are you saying that Sales Boomerang is very similar to how HomeBot will allow you to dump a database? Like you can do that with Sales Boomerang. So if you're a loan officer on this call, like Wally, I'm thinking he's leveraged HomeBot in a massive way for financial advisors.
For Sales Boomerang 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
So he could take, I mean, this is not just real estate agents. You could go to financial advisors and you could really provide value.
Correct.
And leverage their clients by getting these alerts. Is that it works the same way?
Yes.
Yeah, we
Wow.
will be interviewing Wally within sometime in June around how he has added Boomerang to how he's recruiting databases from realtors and financial. Well, we're going to hear everything that Wally's doing. So I don't want to speak for what he's doing, but he has signed up and he's deployed it and he's getting after it.
And how soon can people sign up? I know y'all were working on this where if you don't have an enterprise account yet and people don't want to wait on their company, how soon can they get their hands on this?
So guys, it is on the runway that we are going to create an individual user version of Boomerang if you work at a company that doesn't have it. Although I will tell you, it won't have the credit alerts. So that is going to require an enterprise commitment. And the credit alerts are super valuable. So but there will be an individual user version of Mortgage Coach and Boomerang. If you do want to get on the waiting list, email me at Dave@Mortgage Coach.
Yeah.
Alex and I will be doing a call on that in the next couple of weeks where we're building a list, whoever wants to sign up. But guys,
we're only in this, and look, this again, this is the truth. We are going to limit the number of people that go into this first pilot. It really, we want to make sure that an individual license, an individual broker, an individual person gets the value, understands specifically that they're starting with non-credit, which are still extremely valuable things like life events, rate, listings, equity, things like that are all going to be part of it. And so we want to make sure that we have a managed group. So if you're one of those people, it's like, you know what, I'm willing to take a risk and willing to try something before it's baked out perfectly, get on the list. We'll let you guys know what the limit is, but get on the list. As Dave is saying, email him, we'll get you guys on the list and we will do a presentation. And from that presentation, we'll fill out the final number of the people that are going to be in the pilot with us. But it's coming soon.
But remember, guys, if you've got a database of 10,000 or more, we can set you up. You know, if you got 10,000 records, you could get the whole enchilada. So guys, here's what I want to do. And then guys, everybody get ready for 1 minute of closing thoughts. So these are photos of Josh's presentation this week. And I want to collect photos of mortgage coaches that have Sales Boomerang powered CRMs out there talking to realtors. So this is Josh. These are some pictures of me delivering a presentation a week and a half ago. I want to collect these. We're going to start posting them on our social media. We're going to be shining a light on the captains of the wealth team out there in the market, helping realtors during this inventory crisis with these skyrocketing rates. We're going to help them farm. And in the process, we're going to get loans now. We're going to sell homes now. And we are going to be positioning ourselves to kill it in the future market. So 1 minute speedball. Everybody gets 1 minute. Get ready, guys. Alex, got any closing thoughts?
I just got one closing thought. I don't know if you guys saw me and Dave do a presentation earlier yesterday.
It will be in the YouTube
with
channel
candy
tomorrow.
Yes. So look, we pulled this candy bar out of the bag. We were pulling candy bars out and we're just talking to them. 3 musketeers. You guys are the 3 musketeers. That's the agent. That's the loan officer. That's the borrower. That is the sweet combination right there. Let your borrowers know, bring these candy bars with you. Be like, hey, we're part of the 3 musketeers. What are you talking? What I'm talking about is you, me, and the agent. We're going to work through this together. It's going to be the sweetest relationship. Make sure they know that. Make them feel like they're part of something special. And they'll never forget this. They'll never look at 3 musketeers the same way again.
Remember, 3 musketeers, the consumer,
Yeah.
the homeowner and the future homeowner,
Yeah.
the real estate agent and the mortgage professionals. We will change your life. We will help you create wealth with real estate, and we will be there when you need us most. Josh, you got 1 minute, closing thoughts.
So there's this quote that I've been playing with a lot, and we've been talking about it a lot on our team. And it goes like this: easy times make weak people. Weak people make hard times. And tough, hard times make tough people. So if you take that construct, if you overlay it over the last 10 years in the mortgage world, we've had a lot of easy times that have made a lot of weak people. We're not in that place anymore. We're in the place where it's a tough time. And in order to capitalize on a tough time, we need to shift our entire mindset around what it takes to succeed, what it takes to add value to our clients, the discipline it takes to actually create business, because the easy times are gone. We can't change that. The market will come when it comes. But what we do have agency over is becoming that tough person that makes easy times again. But those easy times won't come without the work. So this is the season. Get after it.
Wow.
D-Bird, 1 minute or less.
Josh, I wanted to ask your permission. Would you be okay if we offered rebranding your realtor presentation for anyone on this call or in the mortgage coach community? If that's their roadblock, would you be okay with that?
I will, with a caveat.
Okay.
If you download that presentation, you make a verbal promise to me that you're going to give it to 3 real estate groups. If you download that presentation and you look at it and go, well, that's really cool, then no go. You can't have my presentation. But if you're going to present the 3 groups, you can have it.
That's what I'm
Okay.
talking
So for those of you on this call, all you need to do is email marketing@plugandplaysm.com. You spell out the and, include your headshot, your logo, your NMLS number, so we can easily just plug and play, and we'll get you that presentation as long as you take action.
So time out,
Yes.
guys. There was a little lesson that just took place. You
Yes.
saw 2 amazing salespeople. 1, they educated. 2, they added value, and they had this little exchange. And they, anyways, I hope you got a lesson from that. Oh man, we lost Todd. He didn't get his minute. So I'll be Todd Brooksman, guys. Win by noon coach. So guys, we fire hoses with lots of ideas. Make sure you write down the 2 or 3 things that are most important. Make sure you schedule a jam session. Make sure you schedule a 30 to 60-minute meeting to work on that presentation, to create the action items. Schedule those. Make sure you go to the Win by Noon store and you get either a No Borrower Left Behind or a Mortgage Coach shirt or a Win by Noon shirt. And guys, I want to see you out there presenting, getting databases, sharing that in the Mortgage Coach Facebook group. When you get a win, share it. When you have a picture of you presenting to real estate agents, share it. Josh, appreciate you, brother.
Thanks, team. Appreciate you. Thanks for all the inspiration and motivation.
Appreciate you.
Thanks, Deborah.
Todd, if
Bye,
you're watching,
everybody.
we appreciate you. Sorry I didn't get you in before it was over. This call is a wrap. Take care, y'all.